Brilliant. Hello and welcome all to our Ninja Skills Booster. This is something new we are doing here at Think Productive, kind of a monthly check-in with some tips, some best practices around a range of subjects. Today, we're talking about things human, not superhero. That is an interesting kind of concept. We're going to get into it today. It's great to see some familiar faces and names on the call. Welcome. Some of you are familiar with Think Productive. Some of you joining us for the first time, we welcome you. This is going to be a fun little interactive quick hitter half hour today. The chat is open. I'm going to be asking you some questions in chat throughout the day. We're going to have a little bit of engagement and response. A little bit about me and why I'm here, folks. My name is Nick Aiello. I am a productivity ninja. That's what it actually says on my business cards, and it's amazing. I work for a company called Think Productive, a global leader in productivity training. We've been doing this since 2009. Offices all over the world, in Canada, United States, the UK, Australia, and a little bit about us. We are on a work revolution where everyone loves Mondays. And we actually believe that is possible. But you are joining us here on a Thursday somewhere in your corner of the world. Thank you for being here. We're going to invite you at this time to press save or to press send on whatever it is you're working on in the background. Let's be here together. Let's hang out for the next half hour. We've got a lot to cover, so we're going to dive right into it. We're going to get started. So I want to introduce you to, we have 9 ninja characters, and today we're going to really deep dive onto one of them. All of these 9 characters can be found in the best-selling book and our best-selling workshop, The Way of the Productivity Ninja, How to Be a Productivity Ninja is the book. We're going to focus today on, as advertised, our bottom right character here, human, not superhero. Well, what do we mean by that? Let's get into it. Here's what we're going to cover off for you today, folks. We've got a lot on the docket in a short amount of time. We're going to be looking at our humanness and our brains, kind of the neuroscience around being human in some regards. We're going to talk about the fuel to sustain us. And again, taking a break. Not actually on this session, it's too short, but the value of taking breaks and creating a culture of being human. So let's get into it, folks. The idea of being a human, not a superhero. That means mistakes happen, right? And that's just a part of life. Mistakes are going to happen both for superheroes and for humans. As you can see here, our superhero friend put his red super briefs into the load of the whites. But here's the thing, the difference about being a superhero and about being a human. A superhero carries on, pretending no mistake was made, which isn't always good also. But humans, if we're making mistakes, we tend to dwell on them. I want to tee up a little video for you. I'm going to show you just a very quick snippet of an interview with a gentleman named Dr. Rick Hanson. He writes a book called Hardwiring Happiness, and it's all about how our brain imprints things and tends to stay to the negative. Give me 1 second to tee this up here, folks. Just going to make sure we're all able to see it. All right. Let's hear from Dr. Hanson about our brains and the neuroscience of sometimes negativity.
And I say it's like having a brain that's Velcro for the bad, but Teflon for the good. And we know what that's like. Every little bad thing kind of sticks to us. And all these good facts, good experiences, good moments kind of wash through us like water through a sieve. And the reason is, as our ancestors evolved and the nervous system evolved for 600 million years, basically our ancestors had 2 tasks: get carrots, avoid sticks, right? Carrots, food, mating opportunities; sticks, predators, hazards, aggression inside their band or between bands. All right. If you don't get a carrot today, you'll have a chance of one tomorrow. But if you fail to avoid that saber-toothed tiger or that alpha baboon in your primate troop, no more carrots forever.
All right. I find that so interesting. the idea that our brains, again, our brains are Velcro for the bad, for the negative, Teflon for the good. Over to you, virtual reactions, come off mute into the chat. You know, how many of you have found this to be accurate in your lives? We hold on to the negative. You know, someone says something that offends us, it can throw the rest of our day off, but we get a compliment and we kind of brush it off. In the scope of productivity, we look at all the things we still have to do, or what have I not done yet? We're looking at the past, we're looking into the future, we're not looking at the present. Look at all the stuff I've accomplished, right? We hold on to the negative. It just imprints a little bit differently. Yeah, a couple of people are already saying that in the chat. So we need to have some kind of a little bit of rewiring, and he goes more into it into his book, but the idea of holding on to the positive for longer, you know, making it mean more. And we can be doing that even within our world of productivity. We like trying to switch things. You know, we're very, we have another character called unorthodoxy. So we're going to recommend actually switching up your to-do list and making it your to-do list. Our brains love that dopamine hit of task completion. Even if something is not done perfectly well, we like to check it off our list. So we're going to advocate creating, instead of a to-do list, a to-do list. It's a great way to get that little brain hit, you know, anything that is completed, even if it's half completed, you know, check it off. Even if you've done something poorly, check it off your list. Get that kind of reward system going in your head. And then we start feeling better about ourselves for task completion. Let's start gearing our brains to, again, wire and value positive more. It's going to help us live less in fear and less in regret and more in the present. It's, again, Hardwiring Happiness is the name of the book, which I think is so cool. We're going to give you just a quick minute here, folks, of just a reflection, and then we're going to talk about it. How do I show up as human? Because again, we are flawed, and that's okay. One of my favorite things about being able to present to you is I don't present to robots. That would be a lot more boring. You folks are unique and weird, and I love that. But sometimes we put on a mask, right? Sometimes we pretend to be, superhero. So I'm going to give everyone just a quick minute, maybe 90 seconds. Take down some notes. What situations is your brain Velcro for the bad and Teflon for the good? When are we pretending to be superheroes in our daily lives, with our families, at our jobs? Let's take a quick minute. Write some things down while things are fresh here, folks. All right, we're hearing people in the chat crossing things off, right? There is a reward system in our brain. It's a dopamine hit for task completion. We can actually develop a quite positive addiction to success, right? To task completion. Give everyone another 30 seconds to start thinking about this. How do you show up as human? When do you pretend to be a superhero? Capture that last thought, finish that last sentence. Because here's how it looks sometimes, right? Are we showing up like our superhero friend here? Or more likely, are we showing up like this, right? Because humans need things like rest. Sometimes the most productive thing we can do is actually come back better the next day. In our lives, we are often trying to be everything to everyone. And sometimes we need to remember, we need to put on our own mask first. We need to take care of ourselves. We only have one vessel. What happens? Let me know in the chat, virtual reactions. What happens if our cell phone battery is ever in the red? Panic. Charge, right? We stop at nothing. It is priority one. We make sure we plug it in immediately. Life cannot go on until we are getting that device plugged in. What happens though, folks, when our own internal batteries are in the red? Most likely, our first instinct is to push through, is to carry on. Okay, I just got to get through it. I just need to go a couple more hours. I'm going to implore you folks to treat yourselves better than you treat your cell phone. Why do we not take the same care with our bodies, with our vessels, with our mind that we do with our cell phone? Why is it one instinct to recharge immediately and the next one we put it off for as long as possible? Doesn't make sense. Humans, because again, we are not superheroes, need things like rest, need things like hydration, need things like nutrition. I'm going to date myself a little bit. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. Some of you have never heard this. Believe it or not, there was once a thing within the world of work called lunch hour. This is true. And I'll tell you why they called it this. Because you ate your lunch and it lasted an hour. Right? I am so frequently working with companies, organizations, cultures where it is now the normal and it is now encouraged to work through lunch. Instead of taking time to fuel yourself, instead of taking time to, again, deliberately have a break and come back a little bit better. Let's talk about this idea of fuel. Here's one of our newest productivity ninja books. It's called How to Have the Energy. Again, co-written by our founder, Graham, and nutrition expert, Colette Hannigan, talking about how to eat the rainbow. And no, I'm not talking about Skittles. In this example, we need to eat the rainbow of actually nutritious foods and ban the beige. So looking for all of our rainbow colored plants, fruits, vegetables, and getting away from, the processed things that actually start to deplete our energy. Eating the rainbow, banning the beige. This is a really great kind of idea to fuel us. We are big here at Think Productive around attention management. It's a little bit different than time management. We are big on attention. So start to notice in your day, folks, when you start to slip a little bit, because that might be the time, instead of having something even like a coffee or a tea, having something like water, having something like grapes or almonds to give you that little natural boost again. Or maybe again, that is the time to actually have a break, to have a stand and a stretch. I want to talk about this. Some of you are familiar with this chart. This is fascinating to me. This was a study of over 1,000 judges, judicial judges, on when they would grant parole, when in the day they were likely or unlikely to grant parole. So you'll see first thing in the morning, pretty good chance of getting parole, then a sharp decline until a break. After a break, pretty good chance of getting parole again, and then a sharp decline until lunch. Well, what happens, folks, is when these judges were presented with making a lot of decisions, our brains get tired. There's such a thing as decision fatigue. And when our tired and lazy brains are still having to make decisions, we often default to the easiest decision. For judges in this case, the easiest decision was to say no. It was the safest option. So what are these easy decisions that happen in your life when our brains are tired? Do you default to eating, junk food? Do you default to low value tasks on your to-do list because they are low priority? So the value of taking a break actually sharpens our brain. We come back better. We come back more equipped to make a better decision. I'm going to share one of my favorite acronyms in the world with you. And this is the acronym HALT. talking about brain fatigue, we're going to advise you, team, not to make big decisions if you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, when am I going to make decisions? Because I'm always hungry or always tired. But again, we're talking about the big things, the things that you actually need to pause, to consider. They have consequences, right? Those big decisions, if we are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, take a pause, take a break, maybe come back better so we're not approaching it from that brain cloud, that fatigue that sometimes happens to us. I want to talk again about this idea of creating a culture of human. Some of you have been on our workshops before. You can attest to this. If you put into practice some of the skills and tips and tricks we talk about, you start to get a lot of things done. So much so that some people in your world may think you're a superhero, but we're not. We are humans. And what that means is sometimes we need to take off the mask. We can be fooled into thinking, you know, our ninja skills are a badge of honor. But again, we are humans, and humans need basic things. Again, rest, nutrition, hydration, but also pleasures. After all, what are those things beyond your day of work that are important to you? People, relationships, hobbies, passions. I hope we are not forgetting all of these, right? Because these are the things that matter at the end of the day. Sometimes being human, we forget why it is we go to work to begin with. If I were to really ask you and we did a deep dive on that, most people's responses would be to have a better quality of life with the people I care about, right? It's usually going to be about relationships or the passions in life. Don't my legs look good also, by the way? Those are mine. No, I'm just kidding. But here's a couple of things we want to remind you of how to be human and celebrate being human and what that means, folks. I'm getting some woos in the chat. I love it. The idea of being human. Let's book team lunch breaks into shared calendars. Again, this idea of lunch hour, let's come back to it. There's a reason why it existed. How about something like, oh, excuse me, celebrating failures? We mean it. We live at Think Productive in a fail faster mentality. We're not just failing for the sake of failing, let's be clear. But if we're failing and then learning from it, that lesson, it comes a lot quicker. So we're a lot more receptive to failing because that means we're trying something. And that means we're often learning from something. This is something we do internally. We have Fridays to celebrate our tadas. Look at all of the things we've done this week. We are a big culture on celebrating wins and celebrating wins together. A great way to create a culture within your work environment where we're talking about what we've done, but also celebrating that success so it can be replicated. Rarely do we celebrate progress and the successes of the present moment. So I'm going to get you thinking in a second. What are those things that we can celebrate? You know, being vulnerable together, getting tired, making mistakes. It's inevitable and it's okay. Again, we talked about fuel, providing healthy snacks and water in meetings and around the office. Leading by example, leaving loudly. We talk about the idea of leaders lead and again, model behavior. Say, I'm taking a half day to go to the doctors. I am taking time off intentionally to eat my lunch. You know, talk about those things that especially set the tone for the rest of the people in your world. And we'd love to hear from you. If there's any ways to support being human, let us know in the chat. Let's take a minute to get a couple from you folks, because I'm going to share one that I've always thought was so cool. I always believe you can pre-plan your comeback. So here's what I mean by that, folks. Most of us get into a good routine. We'll go to a course like this. We'll pick up some tips and tricks. We'll be excited and enthused for a couple of days. And then we'll start to slip back into reality. I've always thought that you could give yourself a gift from the future. What I mean by that is once you start practicing some of this stuff and it starts to sink in, write yourself an email and post date it in the future, maybe 6 weeks. or write in your day planner, your agenda, you know, sometime early January, early February, revisit Ninja Tactics. Give yourself the friendly reminder now to get back into it, because that way, when things do slip, you've already prepared for it. You've already marked out your comeback. So that's something I've always believed in. Thank you. In the chat, we're hearing some great things. Making connections, taking coffee breaks together. We call that high value treats, right? Reward yourself for that work with a high value treat, not a low value treat like social media or Candy Crush. That's a distraction that does nothing for our lives. Even at home, taking a coffee, tea, water with significant other, schedule it. I love that. Yeah, Santiago, being intentional about that. I've had people laugh, make snarky comments when I mention that I'm going to take a lunch break, because that's a human need, not a luxury. Karen, yeah, right? That's incredible. I ask that texts stop at 9 p.m. What a great rule, right? You teach people how to treat you. I love that. So here's what we're going to do, folks. Couple minutes, not long, because we're getting close on time. Action planning. And actions are verb words. What will you do for yourself this week? Put on your mask first. Is that going to be something around rest, nutrition? Is that going to be something about working on your priorities rather than someone else's? Is that going to be pursuing a passion project? What will you do for yourself this week? Put on your own mask first. What are 3 small things you can try this week? Small changes can have a big impact. We are big believers in this. And also, what will you do for the team? Right? Take a couple, about 90 seconds on this. We build in time intentionally so you can capture your ideas. Again, one of our core beliefs here at Think Productive is our minds are for having ideas, not for holding ideas. So if you've had some great ideas on this call, write them down so we don't lose them. Nicole, yeah, it's okay to not be okay, 100%. Especially now. These last 2.5, 3 years have been incredibly hard, and it's hitting people differently. So 1, it's okay to not be okay. And 2, you're not alone, right? Other people are going through this with you. Other people are still in this moment of struggling. If you're finding yourself not as productive as you were pre-pandemic, 1, that's okay, and 2, you're not alone. Again, Nicole, this is what we call virtual fist pump. And sprinkle it back. Listen, I love that. Tremendous. Before we wrap up today, folks, we have a couple things still to take care of. We talked about our humanness in our brains. Again, that neuroscience, how we start to imprint the negative more deeply and how we need to work against that. How that hind part of our brain, the amygdala, views all change as a threat. Sometimes we need to be aware of when that part of our brain is overactive, because it's been working overtime the last 3 years. Not all change is a threat. Some change is opportunity. We've talked about fuel and how to energize and refocus and the importance of taking breaks. We talked about celebrating and creating a culture of being human, a fail faster mentality. Again, the idea that we're not perfect, we're unique, we're weirdos, and this is great. Before we go, folks, because I know there's only a couple minutes, if this was valuable to you, please check out our next one, 8th of December, Cutting the Holiday Overwhelm. I don't know about you, virtual reactions, holiday overwhelm is real. And if you're dealing with it, or maybe you haven't yet, but you might be by the 8th of December, come check us out for half an hour, because that'll be a great one to talk about. Also, we like giving things away. We like giving you freebies. So we're going to give a free copy of How to Have the Energy, our nutrition ninja guide today. Just all you need to do is complete our evaluation, which we're going to get to in a second. Yeah, and you're going to get a free copy of the book. Oops, give me 1 second. Yeah, so complete our survey, our evaluation. Let us know how we did here today. One of you are going to win a free copy of the book. And here it is. Here is the evaluation. There's a QR code there. If that is an option that works for you, we'll drop it into the chat as well. Thank you for that, Barbara, right on cue. Take a quick minute, folks. It really takes maybe 90 seconds. Let us know what you thought about our tips and tricks and tactics and skills booster here today. And as you're doing that, we'd always love to remind you, we have other courses available for you and for your team to help out. We have, again, our getting your inbox to zero if you're dealing with overwhelm with your emails, fixing meetings, how to be a productivity ninja. It was great to spend some time with you folks today. A quick refresher for some. If you're new to Think Productive, welcome. We'd love to see you again. So I know we are approaching, for many of us, the lunch hour, and I don't want you to miss it because I know how important it is. So if it is your snacking hour, thank you again for being here, folks. We certainly appreciate it. I am going to take a break now, Melissa, thank you, but maybe a water break. All the best to you folks. Thank you for being here with us today. We so appreciate it. Again, I'm Nick. Stay in touch. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you on LinkedIn. We'll put that survey link again up. This has been Human Not Superhero, our Ninja Skills Booster. Thank you again, folks, for being here. All the best. Be safe. Be well. Cheers. I have to Dawes for the week. I love it.